Responding to Whatifalthist. 17 disagreements with Whatifalthist as a fan, and more platforms that he should use. Please save a link to this post on archive.today in case it's deleted. Original article. I love Whatifalthist, but there's a few things that he gets wrong. I don't think it's from him being corrupt or otherwise malicious, but from simply not accessing the right media, which I blame it partially on big tech censorship and partially on the alternate media's sensationalism. I'm jumping right into these topics, counting down from what I think is roughly the least to most controversial. I hope this doesn't get me kicked off of YouTube or Pearl. Before you reply to me, remember what Whatifalthist said in another 12 lies about reality, purposefully misunderstanding people is okay, and the beginning of a final 8 taboo questions about history and society. Also remember that some links may not be underlined on the Substack version of this article. Substack seems to have some glitches with underlining links. Now let's jump down a rabbit hole, shall we? 17. Star Wars. Complexities and nuance in Star Wars. Morality in Star Wars. I understand thinking Star Wars is simple good versus evil if one only watches the movies, but the deeper lore is way more complex. Unimportant, this is just for Star Wars fans. 16. Salem Witch Trials. Why do witches have brooms? Why just fly with magic? Virtual private networks. Now this is what a private VPN looks like. 14. Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. Problems with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. 13. School. The videos Stay Out of School summarizes the problems with traditional schooling, or as I prefer to call it, the Prussian schooling philosophy. Education should aim at destroying free will so that after pupils are thus schooled, they will be incapable throughout the rest of their lives of thinking or acting otherwise than as their schoolmasters would have wished. Gottlieb Fichte, the creator of the Prussian schooling philosophy, addressed to the German nation. There are other philosophies that are better for children than the Prussian one, and that I consider to be actually educational for children, such as Montessori and Peninsula School. 12. Healthcare and higher education. 11. Income inequality. Inequality makes you die sooner, and other anti-capitalist doozies. Tom Woods. I'll update this to link to a video about Dutch inequality. 10. America is more right-wing than Europe, and America values liberty where Europe values order. My articles: 17 ways Europe is more conservative than America, / 17 ways Europe is more right-wing than America. The conflicting definitions of freedom. Another article from me. The Heritage.org country ranking. Heritage Index of Economic Freedom. Sweden, Lessons for America by Johan Norberg at Free to Choose. 9. Why are black Americans dysfunctional? Go listen to some Thomas Sowell, especially his video, The Origin of Black American Culture and Ebonics. I'd also attribute it to welfare in a lot of the first world. You get hit welfare for free, but in Japan and they have workfare, in which you are required to do busy work in order to get welfare. This prevents teaching an entitlements attitude. And you also one does not get to keep their leisure time while on welfare in Japan. Looting, why some places and not others, answers. Libertarianism. Not all libertarians believe that people are only self-interested. That's more of an objectivist/Randian view, and I wonder if that's a straw man, even as someone who is not a fan of objectivism/Randianism. Also, in Which Politics Are Best for the Economy, he confuses libertarians with anarchists, more specifically anarcho-capitalists/Rothbardians. Not all libertarians are die-hard anarchists. Many, if not the majority of libertarians, tolerate a state as a lesser evil to chaos, considering how the vast majority of societies lack the social cohesion and require to have anarchy, or at least the type of anarchy that philosophers want. I recommend seeing the video Ron Paul and the 6 Kinds of Libertarianism by Final Hero. There's also utilitarian/consequentialist and deontological libertarians. I think that Lynch can most closely be classified as a classical liberal and almost a utilitarian/consequentialist libertarian. Milton Friedman is an example of a utilitarian/consequentialist libertarian. 7. Mass shootings, medicated to death, SSRIs, and mass killings. The Corbett Report. The drugging of our children, full length documentary. 6. Harm. I don't disagree with Lynch on harm. I just think that he should have given stronger examples when talking about Europe. 2 examples would be European laws regarding self-defense and Holocaust denial laws. Go to YouTube comment finder, put a URL from the following videos, and type in Europe. These videos would be Gun Gripes number 103, The Sheep Mentality, by Iraq Veteran 8888. UK to ban kitchen knives, Sacrificing Freedom for Security by Scholar Grimm. Utterly NYC, store clerk arrested for defending himself against abusive criminal. FKNYC by Louis Rossman. And Self-Defense Laws, Minimal Force to Protect Criminals, again by Scholar Grimm. Also, in Germany, in 2012, there were attempts to ban circumcision, which were unsuccessful. This doesn't give me confidence that the Europeans had the willpower to stand up for their values and principles. When it comes to Holocaust denial, in many European countries, if you said that 5,999,999 Jews were murdered in the Holocaust, you can be censored, fined, and or even imprisoned over an atrocity that happened more than 3/4 of a century ago. But it's completely legal to be a tanky and say that Uyghurs aren't being persecuted in China and that there are no concentration camps in Xinjiang, an event happening right now, and want to talk about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Forget about it. You can't talk about it. Well, East Asia also has strict weapon laws. It's because as East Asian cultures value authority, not harm. In East Asia, on a cultural level, things like hate speech, corporal punishment, the death penalty, and even forced confessions are acceptable. In East Asia, the important thing is the collective, while the individual is disposable, just like in the Borg from Star Trek. Oh, and by the way, I'm half Asian. I'm allowed to say that. I'm half Asian. 5. Overlooked sources of violence in societies. And not necessarily disagreements, and just something overlooked. I think it'd be interesting to look into psychohistory, not the fictional field, but the real field by Lloyd DeMoss. Here's some samples of it. The Origin of War and Child Abuse. The History of Child Abuse. On Writing Childhood History. Here's a couple of audiobooks. The History of Child Abuse. Lloyd DeMoss. The Origins of War and Child Abuse. Full audiobook. However, psychohistory is little known, and I'm unsure of its credibility. Now, I'd also like to mention a map showing circumcision prevalence by country, and another map showing countries that are at war. Notice how many wars are going on in Africa, the Islamic world, and the Philippines, all circumcising cultures. Also remember that the United States of America has one of the highest violent crime and especially homicide rates among developed countries, and is one of few first world countries where circumcision is routine, other than Israel and Turkey, if you count them as first world countries. Some articles talk about circumcision and violence. Psychological impact of circumcision on men. Psychological effects. Circumcision permanently alters the brain. Infant responses to circumcision. How male circumcision harms women. Neonate and child circumcision. Circumcision psychological damage. Circumcision serial killing, criminal behavior, and American medical violence. I find it interesting that Lynch has mentioned female genital mutilation in his videos, but not male circumcision. Just see the presentation, Sex and Circumcision, an American Love Story by Eric Klopper. Also check out my resource list, the best articles that are against child circumcision, along with groups to support. 4. What sexual norms do we want? I guess it would be to combine the openness around sexuality and Amsterdam culture with a Japanese-esque acceptance of being open to having one partner for the home and another partner for lust and romance. In Japan, it's common for men to have a housewife and a mistress. You may think that's immoral, but at least Japan has a way lower divorce rate than more religious nations such as America. If you think Japan or the Netherlands are wild about sex, look into the Trobriand Islanders and the Maria tribe. I think Japanese and Dutch sex culture isn't so wild when compared to the Trobriand Islanders and Indian Maria tribe. Some video defending Tucker. Some articles, attitudes and outcomes of sex ed, the U.S. versus the Netherlands. Worried about your teenage daughter? Move to the Netherlands. And Lynch has more or less overlooked religion's role in making sex taboo. Why does God hate sex? Psychology Today. I'm shocked that Lynch didn't mention masturbation being taboo. The 2 videos talking about masturbation and incels. The article, Circumcision and Moral Hygiene. Punishments for masturbation throughout history. And again, Sex and Circumcision, an American Love Story by Eric Klopper. Okay, number 3. War and America's foreign policy. We both dislike Russia and China, as I clearly explain in detail in my article, Should Muslims and Anti-Imperialists Support China or Russia? An open message to George Galloway, Max Blumenthal, Ben Norton, Hassan Piker, Counterpunch, and the Gray Zone, and how to deal with Americans. But that being said, I don't think that America's foreign policy is justified for the most part. Alright. Do they really hate us for our freedom? And are anti-war people weak? Plus American exceptionalism. Foreign policy, imperialism, and being the policeman of the world. Terrorism, and why do Muslims hate us? The issue of Iran and the Iran nuclear deal. The Motherlode article. Israel is not an American puppet, and proof that America does not go to war for oil. This is the Motherlode article. After reading that, you may understand why I think Israel should be mentioned with Imperial Japan when it comes to valuing loyalty. I'd love for Whatifalthist to debate Ryan Dawson whether or not interventionism is a good idea. I personally think interventionism is only a good idea for first world countries, as that interventions in the second and third worlds are screwed up by governments which have little incentive to not screw up, along with being unable to fix low-trust societies, which is the root of the problem in the second and especially third world. Ryan Dawson is the most censored person on the internet. Trust me. Two, social justice and leftism. Dr. Theodore John Kaczynski explains the psychology of leftists and surrogate activities in 43 minutes. Trump? Well, he's winning bitches. Sincere politics are dead, and here's why. Dave Smith explains the origin of woke culture. 1. The American Civil War being about slavery. American Civil War alt-censored playlist. Talk requests. Debate with Ryan Dawson on America's foreign policy in the Middle East and causes of wars in the Middle East. Not Russia and Ukraine, which is a different matter. Talk with Dave Smith and Peter Piccionis as to why the Ron Paul and libertarian movements have failed. Debate with Styx Hexenhammer 666 and Dark Matter 2525 on religion. Videos I recommend from Styx and Dark Matter are in my playlist. It's videos by Whatifalthist and other Christians that challenged my worldview. Ryan Dawson believes that an advantage that philosophy has over religion is that philosophy lacks the supernatural aspects of religion. Lynch has done a better job than literally anyone else when it comes to convincing me that religion can be beneficial or possibly even necessary for society, and more specifically has made me take another look at Christianity. It does help me that Lynch is a Quaker, as that Quakers are more laid back and their values are aligned more closely to myself, and I find them to be way less alienating than a lot of other stricter or more authoritarian denominations, and like internet reactionary Christian right-wingers who are Christians just to be contrarian to atheist left-wingers. As talked about in the video, religious LARPers are ruining the internet, and here's how. By just the facts. Both Dave Smith and Pete Kionis have talked about why there are sociological reasons as to why libertarianism isn't more popular. I think that Lynch can talk to them and give far more substantial explanations, as that Lynch is a historian, while Smith and Kionis are philosophy nerds. No offense. And so, here's some examples of content from Smith and Kionis and a couple of other videos about the topic. This video is, in my opinion, the best. That Guy T and Why Libertarians Always Lose is by Bastiat Report. The Chain of Identity by Stormcloud's Gathering, and though it's more general politics. Dave Smith's part of the problem. Now, here's just some sample content. When it comes to technocracy, here's some videos about the subject. Delegitimizing the Experts, Part 1, The Argument, by Freedom Alternative. Though this is almost solely related to the medical field. The Technocratic Movement Explained with James Corbett on the Pete Kionis Show. On the Growing Technocratic State with Dave Smith and Pete Kionis. The Progressive's Dream, Ruled by So-Called Experts and How to Dismantle It by Tom Woods. I do know about the corruption of experts when it comes to adolescence. Robert Epstein has stated in a radio interview that he's been in closed-door meetings of the pharmaceutical industry in which they mention how they could increase their profits if they can get more teens diagnosed with disorders so that they can sell drugs to said teens diagnosed with disorders. Here's some alt-tech sites that Whatifalthist should expand to. My very most recommended site would be Odyssey. It has most of the same features as YouTube, including playlists, and featured channels. But without the censorship and advertisements delaying videos. Closing. In my personal opinion, Ryan Dawson is the better researcher, while Rudyard Lynch is the mostly better historian. As much as I agree with Dawson on politics, I think Lynch has better explanations for culture, especially if his explanation of why Western civilization is so successful and why Latin America is dysfunctional. However, Lynch is more ignorant to modern politics thanks to good alternate media sources being suppressed, while conspiracy kook sources are allowed to disseminate. Sensationalist alternate media also gets more attention than non-sensationalist alternate media. I also ask that you read. He'd responding to Whatifalthist on decadence and responding to Ubersoy on why the right supports Russia, Western self-loathing, tankies, and the fifth column within the anti-war and anti-imperialist movements. I'd like to get some responses on that. Thank you for reading, or should I say listening. Bonus. I discovered Whatifalthist when I saw his video, Why is America Crazy Now?, appear in my YouTube recommended feed in November of 2020. Then I found out that he's a member of Generation Z, more specifically, born in the year 2000, and is from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I was born in 2001. I'm from and live in an Atlanta suburb. We're both right-wing, me libertarian actually, male Zoomer, online political commentators from the eastern United States of America. So you can imagine why I felt connected to him. Yeah. Right. Here's my social media link tree, which I ask that you keep archive. You keep the link and archive my content. And please, to make sure that YouTube, Google does not monetize this video.
Listen, you son of a bitch. What the fuck's your problem? You want to sit here and say that I'm a goddamn fucking Russian? You get in my face with that, I'll beat your goddamn ass, you son of a bitch. You piece of shit. You fucking goddamn fucker. Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line. Get that through your goddamn fucking head. Stop pushing your shit. You're the people that have fucked this country over and gang raped the shit out of it and lost an election. So stop shooting your mouth off claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch? Fill your hand. I'm sorry, but I'm done. You start calling me a foreign agent, those are fucking fighting words. Excuse me.
because as Google does not believe in free speech, along with its ties to BlackRock and Oracle. Collects Oracle data mines info on billions of people, and BlackRock is crushing small businesses. His is to try to create a monopoly for itself. I don't want to give Google ad revenue.